Hi friends, your pal Scott Garibay, and today we are going to talk about the most useful D&D campaign. And this is the campaign where I learned the most, where I learned the most about dungeon mastering, the most about dragon mastering, and the most about life. And so I am now being dungeon mastered by the Gold Dungeon Master. And he is running a campaign set in Exandria, and I'm sitting at the table and he says, tell me what you know about Exandria. So I said, Menagerie Coast, merchants who are selling wares to Dwendalia and Kryn. All right. So that's so the Dwendalian Empire, that's Dwendalia, and the Kryn dynasty, that is the Queen Leilas Kryn, and she oversees Xorhas, right? And so Dwendalia is specifically Dwendalia is populated by the Tolkien species, dwarf, human, elf. And then Xorhas is populated by monster species. So tiefling, orc, goblins, hobgoblins, bugbears, the like, right? And drow, okay? And so drow, right? And hey, Matthew Mercer wrote it, not me. Okay. So basically, so he's like, okay, now, and so I have a blank piece of paper in front of me, not a character sheet. I thought this was very interesting. And so he's like, okay, so where do you think your character comes from? Does he come from the Menagerie Coast? Does he come from Dwendalia? Or does he come from the Dwendalian Empire? Or does he come from the Kryn dynasty? And I'm like, he definitely comes from the Kryn dynasty. And he's like, okay, great. What is his species? And I'm like, he is orc. Okay. And at this point he goes, okay, I got you. And is there a particular area that you like in Xorhas more than others? And I said, yes, I like the Broken Vale Marsh, right? He's like, so where do you think your character, so why is your character in the Broken Vale Marsh? And I said, well, he's in the Broken Vale Marsh, and the reason he's there is because that's where the blood gardens are. And he's like, oh, the blood gardens. Yes, so these are flowers which grow best in the Broken Vale Marsh. They're grown in the Broken Vale Marsh. It's great to grow these kind of flowers, and the reason why is there's only those huge turtles that live there, those huge tortoise creatures, like beast creatures, not the turtles player character species. And there's a ton of land, air quotes land, where these can be grown. And since the Broken Vale is so dangerous and so boggy, there's lots of uninterrupted space for these blood roses to grow. And my orc works in the blood gardens, right? And he's like, oh, okay. And at that point, he's like, so, you grew up there? And I said, yes, I did grow up there, but not with my parents. So my parents were sword runners. He's like, sword runners? What's that? And I was like, well, they ran Xorhas. They ran swords that were made in Xorhas secretly. They would smuggle them into the Dwendalian Empire, and then that they would smuggle them into Dwendalia, and then they would bring back trade. They would bring back entire carts filled with gold, Dwendalian armaments like swords, or food, or art, all kinds of different materials, right? And so and they did this, but when he was 5 years old, they were captured in Grimgolin. Grimgolin, really? Yes, in Grimgolin, right? So they were captured in Grimgolin, and the two of them were hung there together, right? Because it was against the law what they were doing. So when he was 5 years old, he was then adopted by a husband and wife who were Drow, and the Drow were only visiting the large city where he lived, and their home was the Blood Gardens. And since he was an orc with no parents, no, generally, it would be difficult to adopt, but this kid had nowhere to go, and so they were like, yeah, you guys live in the Broken Vale Marshes, but this child has no home. So as bad as the Broken Vale Marshes are, it's certainly better than no home. And so this Drow couple took me in, and I still live there to this day. And at this point, my character's 20 years old and has been in the Blood Gardens for 15 years, right? And I will say, this really blew me away, right? So the Golden Dungeon Master is like, okay, we have to stop there. And I'm like, what? We've only been talking for 35 minutes. We still have, an hour and a half. And he's like, nope. He's like, that's enough, for me to build what I need to. And he had written down all the notes. And so, and then at that point we stopped, and this is really nice. We just played board games and talked. And also, he did live in he did live in Westchester, Pennsylvania, and he had money, right? And so every time I would go over there was always kind of like, he would like, he fed me very well, which was really nice. And he was very open with, everything in his refrigerator and everything, his drinks and so forth, which now I'm a teetotaler. When I say drinks, I just mean soda. And what's interesting is whenever I go to people's houses and they open their fridge to me and they open, and I can have whatever I want from their fridge, I really take advantage of that, because I always say that when people bring like snacks to my house, and then I'll be like, hey, just take anything from the fridge, but people rarely do. So I like to dig in. If somebody offers me hospitality, I like to take advantage of it. Every single word you just heard in this video is my humble opinion. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion. When you get in the comments, then send your traffic. Please consider subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.